Hello, this is Faith at Faith and Books. This is a video to talk about two things. The first thing is the challenge that Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading and Jason, her husband, at Old Blues Chapter and Verse are doing for 2020. I think they're calling it Reading Your Own, a year of reading your own. Oh dear, I forgot exactly what they call it. But what they're planning to do, and I will link, is to just spend the year 2020 reading books they already have on their shelves. So they've amassed a really huge collection of books. And I'm really intrigued by the idea. I know that Jason said in his post that he wasn't doing it for consumer reasons, but just because he wanted to appreciate the books that he already had, which is great. But I'm sort of motivated to partake in a way in this challenge because of consumer reasons, because books do use up trees, and we have a glut of used books out there that maybe people overlook, and they just sort of tend to go out and buy newly published books. So I want to do it for that reason. And actually, I've been trying to cut down the last couple of years. I've tried to not buy so many new books. I have bought some. Now, see, I'm not in the publishing industry, so I can talk like this. But I've tried to, mostly, though, I get books on Kindle, or I get them out of the library, or I may buy used books, though I hadn't even been doing that very much. And then if I'm getting a book as a gift, or there might have been some stray other time that I bought a book. I can't really remember. Anyway, so my version is going to be a little different for two reasons. One, I need my Kindle. I have bad eyes. I have insomnia. I need the backlit Kindle to keep me company when I'm awake for hours in the middle of the night. And my husband is the same way. We both have terrible sleep habits, and we need our Kindles. So I'm very dependent on my Kindle. But what I think I might do is try to only buy books that are like either free or like below $1.99, because sometimes I have snap bought a book paying way too much for it, and then I find out that I didn't like it, and I hate that it's even on my Kindle. I don't want it. And I don't appreciate that I overpaid for something that I wound up not liking, because it was just too easy to, the impulse buying that you can do with Kindle is a problem for me. So I think I'm going to limit myself to free to maybe no more than $1.99 for a book. Or I'm also going to, I've never done this, but I'm going to learn how to get ebooks out of the library, because that's been going on for years now, and I've never figured out how to do that. But that would be a good solution too, I think, if I can figure it out. If I understand that it works just like regular books. And the other thing is that I am going to get books out of the library, because I'm doing a year with Louisa May, and I only own Little Women in hardback. And apparently years ago, I downloaded 8 Cousins on my Kindle, but that's it. I don't have any of it. Oh, and I just bought A Long Fatal Love Chase from in my used book haul. But that's it. So to read the other books, I need the other books, and I'm just going to use the library. So I'm still going to go to the library. So for me, it's more about not spending money. So maybe I'll try not to get any overdue books. But the other thing I was going to do is once a month, I will pick a book off my shelf, maybe more than once a month, to read. So I will try to focus mostly on reading books that I already have. The trouble is, a lot of the books that I have are either really big, thick chunksters or like dry nonfiction that I've read parts of, but I'm not going to read it cover to cover. Or there are a lot of books are my husband's, and I'm just not interested in the topic. So I don't have as big a collection as, even though I think my collection is pretty big, but a lot of it is children's books and stuff like that, some textbooks, things like that. So anyway, but I thought once a month at least I could try to read something off my shelf. And one thing that I do like to read is children's literature. And I was already planning to read some of that. So I was going to read, let's see, I was going to read the whole Swallows and Amazon. Here, I'll show it to you. I don't know if I can. There you go. We have the whole set sitting on our shelf. This is something my husband read to our middle son, who coincidentally works at a sailing marina. And they really bonded over this. And I only read the first one. I've never read all these other books, and they've been sitting on the shelf for, 12 years now. So I've decided, and I had already decided this months ago, that I was going to read these in 2020. And even when I was reading Oscar Wilde, they mentioned that Arthur Ransom was like somebody he knew. So I'm really interested in reading this. So I'm going to read all these books. So that's 1, 2, 3, so that's 7 books, right? And they're children's books, but they're still substantial books. So I was already going to do that. And then I also was already thinking of rereading, because I did read all these aloud to my kids, the books in the Moomin Troll series, which I absolutely love. I'm not a big fantasy person, but there is some fantasy that I like. I really loved Lloyd Alexander's books. Oh gosh, now I'm forgetting the name of it. The Chronicles of Prydain. I really love those books. I like them better than The Lord of the Rings. I've only read part of The Lord of the Rings. I read The Hobbit. I thought it was kind of a slog. I mean, I'm really bad when it comes to fantasy. I'm really fickle. But I did love the Moomin Trolls. I absolutely adored them. And I keep wanting to reread them, and I'm going to do that. And I have these. I don't know if this is all of them, because I think some of them strayed into some bedrooms. So I have to go around the house and look, because here's Moomin's Summer Madness. Where's the winter one? Yeah, the one that's set in winter is missing. Moomin Papa at Sea, Moomin Papa's Memoirs, Tales from Moomin Valley, and Finn Family Moomin Troll. That's like the first one. So anyway, so I was planning on collecting and rereading all of these books, collecting from the various rooms in the house, these books in 2020. So I already have that, set aside as books off my shelf that I want to read. Then I was also planning on rereading in 2020, and I don't remember this book at all. I read it right after my father died. When my father passed away, I grieved by reading a lot. I read all of the Rumpole books because he loved Rumpole the Bailey. And I remember him telling me to read, that I would really like this book, The Daughter of Time, and I never read it. And so when I saw this in his collection, I said, I want that book, because I remember him telling me that I would like it. And I read it, but I tell you, when I was reading things right after he passed away, and I was so in mourning, I don't really remember it. So I decided I was going to reread that. I was going to try to focus on Josephine Tay in 2020 anyway. So I'm going to reread that. That's off my shelf. And then I saw this mini-series, and I just loved it. And I bought the book, and I never read it. So I think that 2020 will be the year I finally conquer Bleak House. So I already had a lot of books on my shelf that I was going to read anyway. So I feel like I'll just be more conscientious about trying to read books off my shelf. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that I've been noticing, let me see what time it is. Do I have time to talk about this? Okay, I have to go really quickly. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Vlogmas, because I've noticed people are putting up these Vlogmas posts, and got something on my face. And I'm enjoying them. I'm watching them. I'm not judging people for choosing to Vlogmas, but it just made me a little bit sad because of the word mass at the end there. The Vlogmas is kind of a clever putting together of a couple different words. A vlog obviously comes from, it's a play on weblog, which became blog, and then vlog, although it's not taking the last letter of the word. I mean, the B is the last letter in the word weblog, and then becomes, well, anyway, but it's a take on that. And then the mass is obviously a reference to Christmas, so they're going to do 24 posts in December. But the thing that kind of hit me was just the use of MAS as a suffix to sort of refer to this holiday, when it really is something that I think most people don't even think about or aren't aware of, but it actually is the same word as Mass. So when I say I'm going to my daily Mass, or I'm going to Sunday Mass, or Christmas Mass, it really is a compound word. It's Christmas is Christ Mass. And we have other holidays or holy days that are like that. We have Michaelmas, which is in September 29th. It's the Feast of the Archangels. And I think England still calls its terms at school, at university or whatever, by these dates. Then there's Martinmas, which is the Feast of St. Martin of Tours, which is in our current day calendar November 11th, which used to be like the harvest feast where they would have a roast goose. And then after that, they would, the lesser Lent or Advent would actually start right after that. It wasn't just a neat 4 weeks back in the Middle Ages. And then we have Christmas, Christmas, and then we have Candlemas, and that's on February 2nd, and it's actually somehow tied to Groundhog's Day, I think through the German immigrants or whatever, but it's the day the church blesses all the candles that it uses all year, and it's the feast of the presentation of our Lord in the temple. So those are the masses, it isn't just Christmas. There's other holy days that have that same suffix, but it's actually a compound word, and it means Mass. And it means, so what's the full name of the Mass? The term Mass really comes from, and I wish I could remember the Latin, but it comes from the dismissal, go out into the world, and so it comes from that, but the name in English that they give it is the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, right? So Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, doesn't work, vlogmas. But it's really a divine liturgy, right? And so if you're Catholic, the Mass is the source and summit of your worship, your relationship with God. So the Mass is going on 24/7, 365 days a year in almost every single country in the world. And it's something that people die for, priests have been murdered at the altar celebrating Mass, and not, pretty recently. And there are people in China and in Egypt and other places who, to go to Mass, is taking their life in their hands. They might get killed going. It's illegal, or they're hated, right? So Mass is not just a suffix you stick on the end of vlog. It's actually a really important, meaningful thing to a lot of people. And I know that Christmas in our Western culture is really secularized now, and that Mass doesn't have any significance. You'll see, those bumper stickers, put Christ back in Christmas, and then there'll be these cranky Catholics that will have bumper stickers that say, put the Mass back in Christmas, right? And sometimes I'm very sympathetic to those cranky Catholics that want to put the Mass back in Christmas, because, why do we celebrate the holiest days of our liturgical year with Mass? Right? Because for us, it's the mystery. It's the relationship with Christ, our Redeemer. And so it's just a little flippant and glib, but that's the world today. The world is flippant and glib. And they don't mean it. Nobody means it. It's cute the way they made up the word vlogmas. But it just shows how far we have come from the original meaning. And it just kind of makes me sad because Christmas has been so twisted. What is the true meaning of Christmas? Is it friendship? Is it what is the true meaning of Christmas? The true meaning of Christmas is that we're celebrating the birth of our Savior. So And so just that this, that this holy day where, and a child born into destitution, born in a stable and laying in a manger, this terrible poverty. And we celebrate it with all this consumption and Black Friday and trampling people to get, TVs and that sort of thing. It's just such a perversion of what it originally means and what it means to a lot of people around the globe. It means that to a lot of people around the globe, not just me. We might be sort of a minority here, but not universally, not around the world. So it just to me was so indicative of just how removed we are, and just what we've done to this holiday. And so it made me kind of sad to see it used that way, even though I know that the people doing it had no mean intent, and I'm not judging in that way at all. It just got me on this thought process. But then I sort of had this kind of, this, not revelation or whatever, but I had this, a good thought, because I thought, it's really that feeling of alienation from your own culture, that's celebrating a holiday that you hold dear, but that they have just twisted into a completely different thing. We're supposed to live in the world, but not of it. And that's what happens every Christmas to me. I can't stand the way the world celebrates Christmas. And so I become detached from the world. I'm constitutionally incapable of celebrating it in the same way, even though, when you have little kids, you do the Santa Claus thing and all that stuff. But to me, Christmas isn't about ugly Christmas sweaters or Santa Claus and that sort of thing, or buying, luxury cars or anything like that. It's about the birth of my Savior, right? And so I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world, right? And it made me think of when, those scenes in movies or wherever, where there's a crowd and on the train station or a platform or in a party or something, and then sort of two lovers' eyes lock and they have this moment of intimacy in the middle of this bustling crowd. And I thought, that's what it's like. That's what I need to view Christmas like. That it's this whole world, this hubbub all around me that's missing the point or just twisting it out of context, and I can just lock eyes, it doesn't. So in a way, and this is just all my thoughts from seeing the word vlogmas. So in a way, it turned out to be sort of a good thing, because I sort of had this own little epiphany about my relationship to Christmas and the world. So there you go. So all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. And that's what happened when I saw the term vlogmas. So now I really have to go, because I think I am running very late. Goodbye.